Yo, what's up everybody, it's Fright Delight, and let's talk about Halloween, made in 1978. Now, instead of telling you all what movies came out that year, I'm going to tell you all the films that were inspired by this movie. You got Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Candyman, Scream, My Bloody Valentine, Psycho 2, and more that were inspired from the simple genius this movie has. Now, the film is about an escaped mental patient named Michael Myers wreaking havoc on the small town of Haddonfield on Halloween night. The general reception of the film is mostly positive, praising the iconic score, the Halloween atmosphere, alongside the simplistic yet effective cinematography. What's interesting to me though is that the newer reviews I've come across had a lot more negative to say, stating that there's little to no plot, the acting is horrible, and the lack of explaining the killer's motives makes the killer uninteresting. Bullshit. Well, I'll let you know how I feel after I recap the movie, give my thoughts and opinions in between, then end it off with a tier list. Now let's stop playing and go to Haddonfield. The movie starts with a zoom-in shot of a pumpkin that puts you right into that Halloween mood. We cut to Halloween night, 1963, where we see a murder being committed through the eyes of a young Michael Myers. Fast forward to 15 years later, Dr. Sam Loomis, played by the late great Donald Pleasance, is with the nurse on the way to Smith's Grove Sanitarium to pull up on Michael. As they get closer, they see a bunch of the patients roaming around, causing Loomis to get out the car and go to the main gate. Well, as he does that, Michael takes his opportunity to GTA the nurse and take the car. The next day, we meet one of the main characters, Laurie Strode, played by my girl Jamie Lee Curtis. She walks to school with the young Tommy Doyle moving past the Myers house. Good thing she didn't go inside, we would have to roll credits right there. We follow Michael just having to get one more look at that ass before he slides to stop Tommy Doyle at school for a bit. After he's done, he hilariously drives around the entire day stalking Laurie. To me, it's funny because Michael just doesn't give a damn, right, with the windows down. Anyways, as Laurie gets home, we catch up with Loomis right on Michael's tail. Since he's been watching him for more than a decade, he knew that Michael would come back to his hometown. His theory is confirmed when he goes to the graveyard and finds the tombstone of Judith Myers has been taken. I wonder where that's at. Back with Laurie, she smoked some of that devil's lettuce with her girl Annie. Not noticing they're being followed, they put the paper out, then stop to see a crime scene being investigated by Annie's father, Lee. They stop by to say what's up, then slide just as Loomis pulls up to talk to Lee. Later that night, Laurie and Annie get to the crib with Michael right on their tail. After they go their separate ways, Michael patiently waits for Annie's parents to leave before taking a closer look at Annie. While that's going on, Loomis and Lee are roaming around the Myers house in search for clues. Loomis gets spooked into drawing his tool, but also has to pull out his license to carry to let Officer Lee know that he'll legally take Michael out himself. He then tells one of the hardest stories to hype Michael Myers up as an evil being.
Emotionless face and the blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
Back with Laurie, she's babysitting a young Tommy Doyle. That's when she gets a call from Annie asking her to watch Lindsay so she can get her freak on with her boyfriend. Laurie agrees as Tommy looks outside to see the shape standing stiller than a tree. He goes to get Laurie, but of course, when she checks again, there's nothing there. After Laurie gets off the phone, they go back to watching The Thing, which John Carpenter remade a little over 3 years later. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the best, if not the best, alien movies of all time. Right in front of The Faculty, and you can fight me on that. Anyways, Annie gets on the phone with her boyfriend, talking dirty to him, knowing damn well she's not gonna do it with no hands. She gets little Lindsay to have a movie night at Laurie's house. Laurie is just missing one kid, and I bet you can't guess. I'll give you a second too. She's missing Carl!
Where's Carl?
I just had to put The Walking Dead in this video somehow. Speaking of a dead woman walking, Annie gets back to her car and doesn't even get a chance to crank it up before Michael pops out the back seat and chokes her faster than a Popeye's biscuit. They put the same sound effect right next to each other like we wouldn't notice either. Back with the kids, Tommy looks outside again to see the shape take a lifeless Annie into the house. This freaks him out into telling Laurie, but again, when she looks, there's nothing there. So she brushes it off yet again. The kids go back to watching TV while we spend some time with the new victims. Characters. You got Linda and her boyfriend Bob. They get inside Annie's crib and see she's not there, then make out for a bit before calling Laurie to ask where Annie is. But she says Annie probably stopped at Mickey D's somewhere with her man, not knowing she already kicked the bucket. Actually, Michael kicked it for her. Linda gets off the phone and the two start to take this upstairs to the bedroom. After Bob gives her those weak ass strokes, he goes downstairs to get a beer. Well, Michael's downstairs and does not approve of the performance, pinning Bob on the wall like a poster. And I like how he stands and tilts his head back and forth, admiring his work. It gives him a bit of personality that would have otherwise been overlooked without it, in my opinion. This leads to one of the most eerie scenes in the film to me. As the door opens slowly, we don't see Michael as he normally would. He wears a blanket over himself with Bob's glasses, and the creepy part is the stillness of him while being in a doorway, just as we're watching the impending doom of Lydia. It just got under my skin a bit, especially as a child when I seen this movie for the first time. It doesn't take long for Michael to finish the double homicide, taking Lydia out as she calls Lori again. Michael takes this time to hear Lori breathe over the phone before she hangs up, looks outside, and calls again to make sure everything's okay. There's no answer on the other line, causing Lori to get worried and check on the kids. Then she goes to Annie's crib to check on her friends. She goes around back walking through this dark ass house as she walks up to the stairs and finds the missing tombstone alongside Annie's lifeless body. That's where that tombstone went. Well, this starts a domino effect of dead bodies coming out from everywhere. Lori almost becomes part of the pack, but uses an unconventional way to get down the stairs and gets away. While that's happening, we check back in with Loomis. And the more I watch this movie, the more I realize Loomis doesn't do shit in this whole film besides look for Michael Myers, but is always a day late and $1 short into the last few minutes. He comes across the car Michael was using and starts to wander the streets at a snail's pace until he comes across Officer Lee. And as he's taking his time, Lori is fighting for her life trying to get away from Michael Myers. She's able to wiggle her way out the situation, getting outside to ask for help. And the way the scene plays out is darkly comedic to me. Lori runs up to one of her neighbors asking for help. And you know what those mofos do instead of help? They don't even peek out the window. They put their face against the goddamn glass and make eye contact with the woman before closing the blinds and turning the lights off too. Man. Anyways, Lori is able to make it back after her crib and wake Tommy up just as Michael is getting closer to her. Tommy slow ass moves just like Loomis but opens the door just in time to save Lori. All while slow and steady Loomis is still walking the neighborhood. Lori gets the kids to another room while Michael's on her tail. She slides through the closet trying to get away and hide, but Michael finds her easy, and the way he tries to get her while she's in the closet is claustrophobic and fear-inducing, especially how helpless Lori is. Never mind. She can take care of herself, my bad. After taking Michael down for a second time, Lori gets Tommy and Lindsay from the other room and tells them to run to get help. It doesn't take long for Loomis to notice the kids running outside, causing him to rush to the scene, finally meeting Michael face to face and saves Lori just in time. Loomis might move at a snail's pace, but he has the eyes of an eagle, and you can tell he used to be a gangster back in the day. I mean, look at the way he draws his weapon. He isn't done yet putting a few more shots in Michael's ass. He has a brief interaction with Lori as he's walking towards the balcony. The movie ends as Loomis looks over the balcony, seeing Michael has vanished, and the only thing they can hear is the eerie breathing letting you know Michael is still close by. Alright homies, that was the end of the original Halloween made in 1978. This is one of those films that's an automatic classic from the atmosphere that complements the holiday of Halloween. And the crazy thing about the title Halloween is that it was almost called The Babysitter Murders, which would have cut this movie's chances of being anywhere near a classic in my opinion. Names are very important if you think about it. Even the most iconic killers have memorable names. Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, Pennywise, Candyman. Now imagine if Michael Myers' name was something like Hubert. My whole point is, to me, the addition of the name Michael Myers by John Carpenter and the name changed to Halloween by the producer Irwin Yablans, hopefully I pronounced that right, it takes this movie to an inspirational level that would have never been reached if it weren't for that change. The over-the-shoulder shots with just Michael breathing is a simple yet effective tactic that adds a sinister feel to him, and also the extended takes of Michael following his victims makes me more immersed in the killer and allows my mind to wonder a bit. Also, doing it with the score kind of makes me hyped to see where things are gonna go. I also like how the film utilizes the kills to show Michael's personality as an artist. There's a couple of scenes I can point to. One is of course when Michael stabs Bob into the wall and admires what he did, and another scene is when he lays Annie's dead body on the bed with the tombstone right above her. Those are just some examples of how Michael can speak without using his words, and it works for me. Also, what the cast and crew are able to do with so little is awe-inspiring, even down to how one of the most recognizable faces in horror history was made with the Will Shatner mask. Speaking of the mask, this is one of the biggest positives for me because in the later movies, except for Halloween 2018 and Kills, it's like they didn't even try to keep the magic of what the mask brings. Fortunately though, this does, being the one that started it all. Just looking at the mask with the blank stare and the sunken eyes provides a sense of impending doom or dread that can creep into the corners of your mind the longer you stare. Now besides Michael, the final girl Lori is a slight positive for me. I don't think they give Lori a lot to do, but with what she's given at the end, she makes up for it. She's able to get the kids quickly out the house while also dropping Michael twice and still live to tell the story. Another thing is the screams my girl Jamie Lee Curtis is able to produce is both chilling and adrenaline pumping. I felt the screams in my bones. She added depth to the tension beyond the score and antagonist that has to be appreciated too in my opinion. And last but not least, another thing that's appreciated is my man Donald Pleasance as Sam Looney. Even though he really doesn't do much in the film, the performance he gives when he is doing something is very convincing, unlike his later iterations when he starts to act like Mermaid Man calling Michael evil all the time. Now one thing I'm mixed on about the film is the slow burn pacing, which isn't that big of a deal. It's more so of a nitpick and isn't a fair one either. After watching modern day slashers, and when I say modern, I mean anything past the year 2000. They have more of a fast pace with more horrific kills that you kind of get used to. So coming back to a slow burn like this is something that you might have to get back used to while watching the film. So with all that being said, I'm sure you all can tell this is going down as a Fright Delight. Now, how would I rank in A Night of Survival with Laurie and Loomis? In all honesty, I wouldn't be rocking with Loomis in a realistic sense, so I'd be somewhere with Laurie. And with me and her tag teaming his ass, I think I still get caught up around the time she found those dead bodies with Michael still in the crib. So I think I land myself in the die saving another category. So those are my thoughts on the original Halloween from 1978. A timeless holiday classic that might annoy some of the younger audience with its slow burn, but it's still a film you can appreciate the longer time goes on. And I just wanted to say this. If you're a person that moves slow and steady but still gets the job done in the end, you living like Loomis. Well, homies, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for making it this far. Let me know what you thought about Halloween in the comments below, even if you disagree with me. And if you enjoyed this video and have any movies that you want me to cover in the future, put that in the comments below too. Please like and subscribe to see more reviews like this one, and I appreciate y'all coming to a Fright Delight. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.